Tom Schwinn, and we're here at the AMA's Museum Restoration Shop in Muncie, Indiana. There's just been an absolute dynamic change in the products that have become available in the electric market in modeling. I have here today some examples of those. This particular aircraft is called an Align T-Rex 600. Its predecessor was a T-Rex 450. It's probably the most popular electric on the market today in the segment that's considered the high-performance electric in the microelectrics. It absolutely rocks, and you get performance that was unheard of just a couple years ago. This is the big brother of the T-Rex 450 in the 600. However, the performance and the technology that's in this machine now offers a true crossover in performance to the Glow equivalent of just a couple years ago. This bird would have been equivalent to the most popular Glow bird called the Raptor 50 just a couple short years ago. It now, in fact, will perform as well or better than the Raptor 50, and in fact, in many cases, depending on what routine you're doing, will outperform the Raptor in terms of its weight to power ratio. Let's go ahead and get into some details, what makes this machine unique and what they've really brought as a state-of-the-art design to us. First of all, you can see that this aircraft does have the carbon fiber frames. Just so you know, it's available in aluminum construction. You can get the frames in standard aluminum, anodized gray. You can also get all of these parts, a couple on the head and other areas that you see that are currently plastic, in an upgraded part in the aluminum, matching colors. It comes standard with an aluminum head, standard with an aluminum swash plate, comes with the aluminum seesaw here for the flybar assembly, and then of course it has a number of aluminum pieces down through the clutch assembly and so forth. Probably the best way to describe this aircraft is that it absolutely flies like it's on rails. One of the things that pilots enjoy with any aircraft, whether it's fixed wing or rotary, is an aircraft that once it's trimmed and you've gone through the setup procedures, just absolutely flies like it's on rails. This aircraft does that. I'm going to go ahead and flip it on here. I'd like to show you a couple features and some of the products that we've put into this bird. First of all, the radio system itself is the Spectrum brand DX7. We've talked about some of the Spectrum technology in the radios previously, and so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail there, but what I would like to show you is what's unique on this bird in terms of the other features. First of all, it's what's called a Ccpm Design, and that simply means that when we move either the cyclic controls, which are right and left and fore and aft, or the collective pitch, which is your vertical ascend and descend, or the rudder, they are all moving here on the swash plate together. So let me show you what I'm talking about. If I move the pitch, we can see that the servos all move up and down together. You can see they move in unison. If I give it right and left bank, same thing. All the servos move together, and the same thing in fore and aft. All three servos move together. What this does for us is give us an incredible jump in precision, feel, and tightness in terms of how the bird flies through precision maneuvers with three servos moving at once. In the past, any given control that you gave the bird, whether it was right and left bank, up and down, fore and aft, etc., was controlled by only one servo. Therefore, you only got the benefit of one servo in torque, etc. Now, basically, with a servo that operates in about the 80 to 85 ounce-inch range, we have the equivalent of almost 250 ounce-inches of torque. So it gives a tremendous amount of power and precision up to the head. In the rotary world, precision to the head is absolutely the equivalent of flight performance. This particular bird comes as a combo unit. It's offered in both a carbon fiber construction and aluminum construction. The components that it's included with are the 75 amp electronic speed control, a battery eliminator circuit, which in this case actually acts more as a regulator, taking down the lithium polymer 7.4 volt pack to 5.8 volts, and with a tail belt driven tail. There is an option for this bird that's a very nice option if you really want to push it for hard 3D, and I'm talking hard 3D because with the belt that comes standard, you can put this basically through any maneuver you're ever going to want to try. But with the torque tube system, you get a little bit tighter tail and you can absolutely push it hard. That's an option that you can add at any time to the bird. If we go on into some of the design features that really make this bird unique, probably the reason that it has such a power to weight ratio is that the total weight in construction of the bird is 6 pounds plus. Now I'm talking flying weight. Keep in mind, of course, that since this is an electric powered helicopter, it replaces the internal combustion glow engine, fuel tank, and filters and paraphernalia with an electric motor and a good size 5 amp or 5,000 milliamp battery pack here. But the point I wanted to make is that even with the change in power plant systems, this bird all up comes in as light or lighter than the typical 50 size glow bird. So while I don't want to say it flies rings around it, I'll just say that if you are happy with the performance of a 50 power glow bird, or you're new to helis and want to take the step up from a micro electric like Align's T-Rex 450, this bird will absolutely knock your socks off in terms of performance. In terms of some other things that they've done that are very nice on the design, they have a very clean design in the links here. They actually have come out with a tail system on here that has thrust bearings in the tail. Normally you only see that on the highest end helis. It does a couple things. It makes the pitch change and the smoothness on the tail itself just absolutely silky. It also gives longer longevity, better life to the components back on the tail. In terms of the highest RPMs that you see on any helicopter, it's right back here. So what I'd like to show you is, in terms of setup, I'm just going to talk about a couple things here that are unique to this bird, and then I want to go into the power plant systems we're using in terms of the chargers and batteries for this size e-heli, for this size electric helicopter. In terms of setup, really, it's no different than any Ccpm glow bird. In fact, I would say in many cases, Align has done a nice job of simplifying the design and reducing the number of components, where either during the initial build you have less time to build the aircraft, or in the event of a crash, which absolutely will happen when you're learning new maneuvers and practicing things, you can get back in the air very quickly. I'd like to point out that this particular bird, because of its size, is decked out with really the top-end components. We already talked about the servos themselves being all digital. These happen to be JR83 17s, but the Futaba or Airtronic servos, or high-tech for that matter, they make equivalents to these. And it has the 601, 611 series gyro in it. Certainly this bird would fly great with the JR equivalent on the gyro. In terms of setup and any kind of unique things between this bird being electric and a glow bird, I guess what I would say is that the actual trim settings for the bird are pretty straightforward compared to any Ccpm bird. The only thing that would be unique electrically with it is that they now use what's called rare earth magnets in the motors, and so it literally, and I'll show you right now, you have to give this a pretty good turn to get the magnet in the armature of the motor itself, inside here, to actually turn over. It's no big deal, but basically it's nothing wrong with it. That's how they get the kind of performance they get out of this bird. In terms of range of settings, most guys on a 50 size helicopter, the glow equivalent of this, will run from about negative 10 degrees pitch to about 10 degrees positive pitch, and typically the normal 3D setup is 0 degrees pitch in the middle. Basic description I can give you. If you get a chance to get on the sticks of one of these birds, you'll like it.